From the nation's capital, Monrovia, good morning and welcome to King's Newsroom, 45 minutes news presentation about Liberia, Africa, and the rest of the world. Today is Thursday, December 18, 2025, and I'm Newton Tokwa presenting stories we follow in this morning. No petition read. Solidarity and trust for a new date ends much public lead or leave protest amidst tight security measures, multiple arrests, and no access to the executive mansion. Lead organizer Mobile Molu demands immediate release of protesters arrested. The Press Union of Liberia denounces self-styled Liberia Broadcasters Association organized awards, describes the group as illegitimate media body. President Joseph Walker suspends National Commission on Disability Executive Director Samuel Dean and Deputy Executive Director Winifred P. for mismanagement of commission funds. And away from Liberia, South Africa has accused the U.S. of using Kenyan nationals who did not have work permits at a facility processing applications by white South Africans for refuge status. U.S. President Donald Trump has ordered a total of complete blockade of all sanctioned oil tankers entering and leaving Venezuela, a move that Caracas has denounced as warmongering threats. These plus the news bulletin, our international development, are all packaged. But we are taking a very short break to be right back. Thanks for rejoining, and let's now have the news bulletin. The much publicized December 17 lead or leave protest ended with a dramatic scene after state security officers prevented demonstrators from accessing the grounds of the executive mansion to present their petition. The citizen gathering, which began at the residence of lead or leave organizer Moba Molu, brought together Liberians from all walks of life to petition the Boagakun administration over what organizers described as poor governance, injustice, and widespread corruption. Protesters who were heard chanting anti-corruption slogans arrived with cooking utensils and food supplies at the protest grounds. Speaking to reporters, they noted that they will remain at the executive mansion grounds cooking and spending the night if President Joseph Walker declined to receive their petition. However, the demonstrators' attempt to present their petition at the executive mansion was met with strong resistance from state security officers preventing the protesters from reading their petition. Meanwhile, state security officers later fired tear gas to disperse the crowd and arrested several participants, citing breaches of public peace and security during the protest. Speaking to reporters following the police action, Stand Chairman Moba Molu condemned the conduct of the security forces, describing it as counter-democratic. He alleged that the police action was carried out under direct instruction of President Joseph Boakai through Inspector General of Police Gregory Coleman, claiming it was intended to downplay the suffering and injustice faced by many Liberians. However, the Solidarity and Trust for a New Day, or police, is yet to release an official statement regarding the incident of the press time. Meanwhile, State Chairman Moba Molu has called for the immediate release of protesters that were arrested during the protest. In a statement, Molu termed the protesters' arrest as illegal and not lawful by the Liberian National Police. He named individuals as those arrested, adding that protesters' arrest and subsequent detention is an assault on their constitutional rights and an open crackdown on peaceful assembly. Molu argued that peaceful protest is not a crime. He accused the Boakakun government of dragging Liberia backward and putting the country's democracy and fundamental freedoms on siege. The Press Union of Liberia has distanced itself from Liberia Broadcast Media Awards, organized by a group calling itself Liberia Broadcasters Association. The PUL, in a statement issued Wednesday, noted that organizers lack the mandate and legitimacy to confer awards upon broadcast journalists, media institutions in the country. According to the union, the authority to recognize excellence in journalism and media rests exclusively upon the PUL, noting that as Liberia's legitimate, independent, and credible representative body for journalists and media institutions, the union alone has the integrity and institutional framework to evaluate and honor outstanding achievements. The PUL at the same time expressed concern over the attempt by the self-styled Liberia Broadcasters Association, a group neither recognized nor accredited as an auxiliary of the union, to stage an awards event outside the union's established annual awards ceremony. In furtherance, the Press Union of Liberia sharply condemned the organizers, led by Ricky Joplo, for introducing a paid voting scheme via tipping platform, which effectively commercializes the awards process. President Joseph Boakai has suspended heads of the National Commission on Disability for mismanagement allegations. The release issued by the Executive Mansion disclosed that Samuel Dean and Deputy Executive Director Winifred Pay have been temporarily suspended from their respective positions pending the conclusion of an audit into allegations of mismanagement. Recently, several members of the commission have held protests and accused Samuel Dean of corruption and suppression and called for his immediate removal. According to the Executive Mansion, the two NDC heads were suspended following recommendations submitted by the Special Investigative Committee. The release added that to ensure continuity in the administration and operations of the Commission, President Joseph Boakai has appointed Apostle J. Aaron Wright as Acting Executive Director and Emery Amos Jesse, Acting Deputy Executive Director. The Ministry of Public Works has officially launched its 5-year strategic plan aimed at enhancing the construction of paved roads throughout the country. Speaking at the launching ceremony in Monrovia on Tuesday, Minister Roland Giddens said about 485 kilometers of roads are expected to be constructed over the next 5 years. According to him, the ministry has completed the construction of 7 kilometers already just under 5 months. The Public Works ministers commended the employees of the Ministry of Public Works for the level of cooperation thus far and urged them to work more in order to connect the country by roads. President Joseph Boakai has approved the retirement of Brigadier General Amos B.K. Dixon Sr. This followed a recommendation submitted by the Chief Justice, His Honor Yemi Kwakwet Bese Sr., in a letter dated December 9, 2025. Brigadier General Dixon has rendered 38 years of distinguished and dedicated service to the government and people of Liberia through the Honorable Supreme Court. The President expressed appreciation for his years of service and steadfast commitment to national duty. All actions taken are consistent with Chapter 14, Section 14.1 of the Judiciary Law. The law states the President, by and with the advice and consent of the Senate, shall appoint Marshal of the Supreme Court and a Deputy Marshal of the Supreme Court in each county. Our judicial correspondent said prior to Chief Justice Yemi Kwakwet Bese's December 9, 2025 communication to President Boakai, Brigadier General Amos Dixon, Marshal of the Supreme Court, requested for his retirement through a communication to Chief Justice Bese dated August 28, 2025. Ahead of his retirement ceremony in January 2026, General Dixon served 6 constitutional presidents, 5 interim presidents, 11 chief justices of the Supreme Court of Liberia, 2 ad hoc chief justices, and 35 associate justices of the Supreme Court of Liberia. The Executive Director of the National Commission on Higher Education has described research as the best way in resolving the many challenges facing the country. Dr. Cecilia Cassiel noted that other third world countries are succeeding in overcoming most of their challenges based on research. The executive director of the National Commission on Higher Education praised the Ministry of Education, Jaso Jala, for encouraging the Tuskegee University to reach a memorandum of understanding with three institutions in Liberia. Dr. Castle also commended the management team at the Tuskegee University and encouraged them to including the exchange of faculties and including research as time goes. She made the comments during the signing of a memorandum of understanding between the Tuskegee University based in the United States and the Ministries of Education, Agriculture, and McGill University in Monrovia. And the executive director of the National Identification Registry has developed what it called a 5-year strategic plan in to provide a clear vision in building a modern, secure, and interoperable and citizen-centered national identification system in the country. Andrew Peters, the executive director of the registry, said the strategic plan articulates the pillars and objectives focused in universal coverage, digital identification modernization, governance, institutional capacities, strengthening sustainable financing and partnerships. According to him, the plan places citizens at the center, assuring inclusion, data protection, privacy, and trust as the core principles guiding all interventions. Peter made the observation when he spoke at the opening of a one-day validation of 5-year strategic plan organized by the National Identification Registry in Monrovia, the one state. The validation brought together participants from the National Elections Commission, the United Nations Development Program, the United Nations Children Fund, the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning, among others. What if you just joined us? A reminder you're listening to King's News, run a 45 minutes news presentation about Liberia, Africa, and the rest of the world. Today is Thursday, December 18, 2025, and I'm Newton Topa presenting. Stories we're following this morning: no petition read, solidarity and trust for a new date ends, much public leave or leave protests. Amid tight security measures, multiple arrests, and no access to executive mansion. Lead organizer Moba Molu demands immediate release of protesters arrested. The Press Union of Liberia denounces Self-Styled Liberia Broadcasters Association organized awards, described the group as illegitimate media body. President Joseph Boakai suspends National Commission on Disability Executive Director Samuel Dean and Deputy Executive Director Winifred P. for mismanagement of the Commission funds. And away from Liberia, South Africa has accused the U.S. of using Kenyan nationals who did not have work permits at the facility processing applications by West South Africans for refuge status. U.S. President Donald Trump has ordered a total and complete blockade of all sanctioned oil tankers entering and leaving Venezuela, a move that Caracas has denounced as warmongering threats. These are stories we're following here this morning on King's Newsroom. We are taking another short break to be back with voices of the news makers. Welcome and thanks for rejoining. On this one, the much publicized December 17 lead or leave protest ended with a dramatic scene after state security officers prevented demonstrators from accessing the grounds of the executive mansion to present their petition. The citizen gathering, which began at the residence of the lead organizer, Mobat Molu, brought together Liberians from all walks of life to petition the Boakakun administration over what the organizers described as poor governance, injustice, and widespread corruption. Protesters who had heard chanting anti-corruption slogans arrived with cooking utensils and food supplies at the protest grounds. Speaking to reporters, they noted that they will remain at the executive mansion grounds cooking and spending the night if President Joseph Boakai declined to receive their petition. However, the demonstrators' attempt to present their petition at the executive mansion was met with strong resistance from state security officers, preventing the protesters from reading their petition. Meanwhile, state security officers later fired tear gas to disperse the crowd and arrested several participants, citing breaches of public peace and security during the protest. Speaking to reporters following the police action, State Chairman Moba Molu condemned the conduct of the security forces, describing it as counter-democratic. He alleged that the police action was carried out on the direct instruction of President Joseph Boakai through Inspector General of Police Gregory Coleman, claiming it was intended to downplay the suffering and injustice faced by many Liberians.
We will be peacefully confronting, peacefully marching from all the districts of Montserrat County. Those on Bourgeois Island will be assembling at the Clarendon store. Citizens, patriots, nationalists coming from the Paisley Belt will be assembling at the ministerial complex to the Kia Motor area in the perimeters of my residence. And those from Central Monrovia will be assembling at the G.W. Gibson High School on Capitol Bypass.
Carrying a bag of onions.
That was a highlight from yesterday's Lead or Leave protest organized by STAN. The Ministry of Public Works has officially launched its 5-year strategic plan aimed at enhancing the construction of paved roads throughout the country. Speaking at the launching ceremony in Monrovia on Tuesday, Minister Rodan Gideon said about 485 kilometers of roads are expected to be constructed over the next 5 years. According to him, the ministry has completed the construction of 7 kilometers already, just under 5 months.
We set out to do 485 kilometers of paved road over the next 5 years, but I can see us doing 700 kilometers already. And so that's the raw aggression element I'm talking about. And I'd like to take this time also to say thanks to my team. We have a wonderful team here at the Ministry of Public Works. We have a wonderful group of partners that we work with, and we're going to continue to build the partnership. As we reignited our donor meetings, we want to talk to some of the donors that are here to please engage. Those meetings are very critical because we're able to exchange, look at the plans that we're executing, look at your plans and see how that can align with the overall AAID. As has been stated over the years, the Liberian problem to economic growth is because of two major constraints. And those constraints are the lack of energy, sustainable energy, and also access in terms of road network. The government has prioritized these two sectors as key for investment, and that is why the focus is on roads and energy. Here at the Ministry of Public Works, we collaborate with the Liberian Electricity Corporation on all their projects, and so whatever support we can give them to create the access to where they may be investing to enhance energy productivity. Vice versa, they also do similar with the Ministry of Public Works to ensure that we're able to create the kind of assets that are required for economic growth and development. We've identified major growth corridors, and those growth corridors are now being developed. And those corridors are the corridor that runs into central Liberia, runs into northern Liberia to Lofa, runs to Nimai, runs to the southeast, the coastal highway, the corridor that runs down to Bowater South, which we will be starting under a PPP arrangement. Good to know that the government adopted a PPP policy. Now we have a PPP policy which was adopted by cabinet to ensure that the investment in our road sector is not limited only to what we do our multilateral partners. We should also engage private financing. Though private financing may be a little higher in terms of interest rate, repayment period may not be that flexible, but resources are out there. And I'm sure working with the IMF and the World Bank, there's conversation as to how they can give us the kind of latitude to expand the space.
He's the Minister of Public Works, Rodan Giddens, there speaking. A pro-democracy organization, the Youth Alliance for Responsible Governance, has called on the Liberian Senate not to concur with the House of Representatives proposed bill seeking the establishment of 14 electoral districts in the country. The chairman of the group, David Chiet, claimed that that's the responsibility of the National Elections Commission to demarcate districts immediately after a nationwide census.
Youth Alliance for Responsible Governance urges the Liberian Senate to decline concurrence on the creation of 14 additional legislative seats proposed by the House of Representatives. Even more troubling is that this consequential decision was taken without broad citizens' consultation, transparency, or national consensus. We unequivocally characterize this action as undemocratic and a blatant affront to the people's sovereignty. So we are saying to them, you cannot pass this bill without reaching out to your employers. This is undemocratic and an affront to all the Liberian people. It is therefore unfathomable that lawmakers, soon custodians of the law, who disregard the doctrine of the separation of powers by usurping functions constitutionally assigned to another organ of government. This action is in direct contravention of Article 80E of the 1986 Liberian Constitution, which states, immediately following a national census, and before the next election, the Elections Commission shall reapportion the constituencies in accordance with the new population figures. That is translated as in, after you shall have had a census, as it was held in 2022, immediately after the census, the national elections shall is compulsory, is mandatory in the constitution, disaggregate them and do redistricting and reapportionment. The National Elections Commission, not the legislature. And it says not only so, but you should do that in a constitutional time frame before the next election. When was the next election? The legislature had a chance to have gone to the election commission and said, you have to go about redistricting based on the new figure, because let's just submitted a report to them of the 5.2 million plus people who are in Liberia. They had the data in their possession. Why couldn't they reach out to the NEC? But they went and sat down, idly by, and waited for this time. The constitutional time frame has elapsed, so that even right now, the constitutionally mandated organ of government, the NEC, does not have that power, does not have the authority as provided by law to carry out any form of redistricting. Is that possible?
He's the executive director of a pro-democracy organization's Youth Alliance for Responsible Governance, David Chiede, speaking. Brown County District 5 Representative Eugene Cody has assured residents of Swakoko of a thorough and transparent investigation into the death of Madam Quita Johnson, who was reportedly missing and later found dead. The tragic incident, which occurred on December 10th, has sparked fear and public concerns across the community. According to eyewitness accounts, the 50-year-old woman reportedly left her home around 2 o'clock a.m. Sunday to attend to a person of need, but never returned.
Question number polling apa itu leadership na commission I call leadership na okay jawab aja ka due here again du point ma pe we da point ka lai go le moi community platform na yi ga I call ka de me mai da mo dia dalam medico well kala itu bakwa ni ake jaibu amen lu kahan suara So in order that justice to go, this is the remedy we are trying to perform. Therefore, we also need all of you guys' expertise. We need you guys' expertise in the process. We need you guys' help in the process. We want you to go and ever look at the study of the town to get information. Manda, 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 Manda,
He's Brown County District 5 Representative Eugene Cody speaking. What a folks, if you just joining us with the time half past the hour, a reminder, you're listening to King's News Brown, the 45 minutes news presentation about Liberia, Africa, and the rest afterward. Stories will follow in this morning. No petition read. Solidarity and trust for a new day ends much public lead or leave protest amidst tight security measures, multiple arrests, and no access to executive mansion. Lead organizer Mobile Malu demands immediate release of protesters arrested. Press Union of Liberia denounces self-styled Liberia Broadcasters Association organized awards, described the group as illegitimate media body. President Joseph Boakai suspends National Commission on Disability Executive Director Samuel D. and Deputy Executive Director Winifred P. for mismanagement of Commission funds. Away from Liberia, South Africa has accused the U.S. of using Kenyan nationals who did not have work permits at a facility processing applications by West South Africans for refugee status. U.S. President Donald Trump has ordered a total and complete blockade of all sanctioned oil tankers entering and leaving Venezuela, a move that Caracas has denounced as warmongering threats. These are stories we're following here this morning on King's Newsroom. We are taking another short break and we'll come back. We continue with more voices on the program. Thanks for joining and welcome back. The ministry The executive director of the National Commission on Higher Education has described research as the best way in resolving the many challenges facing the country. Dr. Cecilia Cassia noted that all the third world countries are succeeding in overcoming most of their challenges based on research. The executive director of the National Commission on Higher Education praised the Ministry of Education, Jaso Jala, for encouraging the Tuskegee University to reach a memorandum of understanding with 3 institutions in Liberia.
This is a great day for Liberia, and I'm happy to be a part of it. At the time, I just took over as the head of higher education, and we are here to sign MOU for higher education. We need you more than ever before. If you look around our higher education institutions, we need to groom our faculty, because that's the only way we can get to where we want to be. And research is key in everything that we do. I always like to use Ghana as an example. I always say it's not magic they are performing. Ghanaians are researching into their problems. They are using the information they gather from the people who are living with problems to solve the problems. I think we can get there. So I'm happy that we are here this morning signing the MOU, and we are also talking about research. That is one way that we can help to solve our problems. If we go after the people who are living the problems to tell us what the problems are, then we can take it from the root to be able to solve the problem. And student exchange, faculty exchange is also good for us. We learn from you, you also learn from us, because I guess we have some unique things that you also want to learn. So I'm happy that we are signing this MOU at this time, that I will say, well, I was part of it when they signed as the head of the commission. So I'm grateful, welcome, and I pray that we take it from this level and do actual practice, as Dr. Ase has said. He started already, and I want other institutions to join this. We have the private, we have the public. They are also, private institutions are also preparing people for our country. So I pray that we look beyond the public and also look at the private, because they are all preparing Liberian students.
He's the executive director of the National Commission on Higher Education, Dr. Cecilia Cassia, there speaking. The executive director of the National Identification Registry has developed what it called a 5-year strategic plan aimed to provide a clear vision in building a modern, secure, and interoperable and citizen-centered national identification system in the country. Andrew Peters, the executive director of the registry, said the strategic plan articulates the pillars and objectives focused in universal coverage, digital identification modernization, governance, and institutional capacity, strengthening sustainable financial partnerships.
As Liberia continues in its digital transformation journey, a strong and credible national ID system is no longer optional. It is a critical national infrastructure. The 5-year strategic plan we are here to validate is a product of extensive technical analysis, institutional self-assessment, broad shareholder engagement, and reflections of collective experiences, lessons learned, and from year of implementation to the date, in alignment with national development priority, including the arrest agenda for inclusive development, digital governance reform, regional and international best practice in identity management. This strategic plan is set as a clear vision to build a modern, secure, interoperability, and citizen-centered national identity system. It articulates strategic pillars and objectives focused on unified coverage, digital eco-modernization, governance and institutional capacity strengthening, sustainable financing and partnership. Importantly, it places citizens at the center, ensuring inclusion, data protection, privacy, and trust as a core principle guiding our interventions. Today's validation workshop is therefore a critical milestone. It provides an opportunity for you as a key stakeholder and partners to review the proposed strategic direction, interrogate the assumption, test the feasibility of targeted issues, and ensure that the plan is realistic, implementable, responsive to the needs of Liberians. Your insight and recommendations will strengthen the document and enhance national ownership. I wish to emphasize that this strategic plan is not just intended for an NIR document. It is a national framework that requires strong collaboration across government, ministries, and agencies, sustained political support, active private sector engagement, and continual partnership with our development partners. Effective identification systems flourish on coordination, interoperability, trust, and these can only be achieved through collective actions.
Andrew Peters is the executive director of the National Identification Registry. They're speaking. And away from Liberia, South Africa has accused the U.S. of using Kenyan nationals who did not have work permits at the facility processing applications by white South Africans for refugee status. 7 Kenyans were arrested after intelligence reports revealed that people had recently entered South Africa on tourist visas and had illegally taken up work at the center, said a statement from South Africa's Department of Home Affairs. The BBC has approached the U.S. State Department for comment. While the U.S. is trying to reduce overall levels of migration, it says that members of South Africa's white Afrikaner community can get asylum because they face persecution. A claim South Africa's government strongly rejects. US President Donald Trump has ordered a total and complete blockade of oil sanctioned tankers entering and leaving Venezuela, a move that Caracas has denounced a war as warmongering threats. Trump wrote that Venezuela President Nicolas Maduro's government had been designated a foreign terrorist organization which had also engaged in drug smuggling and human trafficking. His remarks came after the U.S. seized an oil tanker off the coast of Venezuela last week, a move that was seen as significant given Venezuela's reliance on oil. The U.S. has also recently conducted deadly strikes on alleged Venezuelan drug smuggling boats and has significantly built up its naval presence nearby. On that note, this is how I would like to go home this morning on this edition of the program King's News. Run a 45 minutes news presentation about Liberia, Africa, and the rest of the world. But just before we go home this morning, let's remind you of stories we've been following. No petition read solidarity and trust for a new day ends much public lead or leave protest. Amidst tight security measures, multiple arrests, and no access to executive mansion, lead organizer Mobile Mali demands immediate release of protesters arrested. The Press Union of Liberia denounces Self-Styled Liberia Broadcasters Association organized awards, describes the group as illegitimate media body. President Joseph Boakai suspends National Commission on Disability Executive Director Samuel Dean and Deputy Executive Director Winifred Pay for mismanagement of the Commission's funds. The way from Liberia, South Africa has accused the U.S. of using Kenyan nationals who did not have work permits at the facility processing applications by West South Africans for refuge status. U.S. President Donald Trump has ordered a total and complete blockade of all sanctioned oil tankers entering and leaving Venezuela, a move that Caracas has denounced as war-mongering threats. These are stories we follow here this morning on King's News Room. I would like to say many thanks to all of our reporters, correspondents, news editors who help in making this package a success. Better still, just join us this afternoon at 1 o'clock, at which time we'll be here with another edition. My name is Newton Tupa. Thanks for listening or watching. Good morning.